Hello, my name is Emily Justice, and my project was on the effects of various amounts of fertilizer on plant growth in Mars soil. One of the reasons that sparked my interest in this project was because I saw the movie The Martian, and in the movie, the main character had to grow his own plants in Mars soil in order to survive. So that made me curious of whether it was possible to grow plants in Mars soil, and if it was possible, then what are the components needed? So the purpose of this research is to investigate the factors needed to successfully grow plants in Mars soil, to understand the different effects of fertilizer on plant growth in Mars soil, and to understand the different effects the plant species has on growing plants in Mars soil. I came across a study that was done in 2014, done by G.W. Wigger Lamlink in 2014, and he tested the growth of plants in Earth, Mars, and Moon soil. In the end of the experiment, it was found that Mars soil was not only able to produce plants, but it was actually able to produce plants at the same rate as Earth soil, and in some cases, it actually outperformed Earth soil. So I based some of my experiment off of that experiment. It's just that I only used Earth and Mars soil, and I also germinated the seeds beforehand. So for my experiment, I had 4 different plant species. I had snapdragon, coneflower, fern, and soybeans. So snapdragon and coneflower are wildflowers, and fern and soybeans are non-wildflowers. Wildflowers are flowers that can grow freely and on their own in various conditions and environments. So, which hence the name wildflowers. And because of this, it led to my hypothesis that wildflowers will grow better with less fertilizer than non-wildflowers, and that out of the 2 non-wildflowers, soybeans would grow the most. And this is because it is shown that soybeans can grow in rocky climates with low nutrient soil. And another hypothesis I had was that the more fertilizer in the pots, the better all the plants would grow. The question that I'm trying to answer is, what is the effect of different amounts of fertilizer on plant growth in Mars regrowth simulant? And to answer this question, I divided the soil into 2 groups, Mars and Earth soil. And within each group, I divided them into 3 subgroups based off of the amount of fertilizer each cup received. So one cup received 0 fertilizer. Another cup received 10 milliliters of fertilizer, and the last cup received 20 milliliters of fertilizer. So I fertilized the plants every week, and I watered all the plants 20 milliliters every 3 days. Every 3 days, sorry. The materials I used was 48 266 milliliter cups, an eyedropper, 2 liters of tap water, 2 kilograms of Mars soil simulant, 2 kilograms of Earth soil, liquid fertilizer, the brand was Miracle-Gro, 1 packet of snapdragon seeds, a packet of coneflower seeds, 1 packet of fern seeds, and 1 packet of soybean seeds. And I used a 60 milliliter measuring cup. So I purchased the Mars simulant from a website called The Martian Garden. And it actually based the components of the Martian simulant off of the research done by NASA and JPL. For my graphs and data, I organized them based on the plant species. The data shows the mean height of the plant versus the type of soil the plant was grown in. Each bar represents the different amount of fertilizer given to the plant. I conducted a second trial, and I did have more success in growing some of the plants. And the results show that Snapdragon and Mars soil grew the most when it received 10 milliliters of fertilizer. The coneflower and Mars soil grew the most when it received 20 milliliters of fertilizer. The fern had some trouble growing, but it is shown that in both trials, it grew when it received 20 milliliters of fertilizer. And interesting enough, the soybeans actually only grew most when it received no fertilizer. So all the pictures you see were taken by me. The way I placed them in the box was by having each row separated by the species of the plant. And each row had a total of 6 cups. And the first 3 cups to the left are earth soil, and the 3 cups to the right are Mars soil. From the left to right, the amount of fertilizer given to the cups went 0 milliliters of fertilizer, 10 milliliters of fertilizer, and 20 milliliters of fertilizer, and it repeated in the same order for the Mars soil. When I first saw that the soybeans that received 20 milliliters of fertilizer were not growing, I first thought it was a bad reaction between the fertilizer and the Mars soil simulant. But then I saw that coneflower actually grew the most in 20 milliliters of fertilizer. And so that led me now to believe that it was actually a reaction between the fertilizer and the plant species. I did a bit of research about this, and I found that too much fertilizer can actually increase the salt concentration of the soil. And this could damage the growth of the plant and lead to a premature death. So soybeans are actually one of the least salt tolerant crops out there. And on top of that, the Mars simulant already contains a good amount of sodium. So in conclusion, the data actually rejected my hypothesis, and since the wildflowers did not grow as much as non-wildflowers, and it was also shown that the more fertilizer will not actually benefit all plants, and this was shown with the soybeans. And if I ever did this experiment again, I would probably want to water the plants maybe every other day, then every 3 days. And this might expand the life expectancy of the plants. And I might up the amount of water I gave to the plants. Next time I would probably want to use distilled water instead of tap water. And the reason why is because if we do actually grow plants in Mars soil, we would probably use distilled water. And the reason for this is because we have discovered there are ice polar caps on Mars, and that's probably where we're going to get our water source from. So if I was going to continue this project, I might research into growing vegetables and have more of a variety of plants. The ability to grow food will be very important for growing plants on Mars. And overall, I would say that this experiment was very helpful on understanding the factors that are needed to grow plants in Mars soil. This research could be helpful in the future for when there are real trials of growing food or plants in Mars soil. So before I end this video, I would like to acknowledge my parents for helping me. I would like to thank my dad for taking time to help me with this experiment, and for just giving me a lot of help with putting together this project. And I would also like to thank my mom for helping me put together my science board and my presentation, and she also took time out of her schedule. So I would also like to thank Mrs. Wright, my teacher, for giving me very helpful feedback all about my project, and she really just pointed me in the right direction for this. So other than that, I guess have a nice day, and thank you for listening.